love. That was fun.
Good morning. Hey, so that's the first time you've seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing. I that was quite the intro.
And
Quite a
someone
ride.
wandered in.
It's his creation. It's nice to see it through fresh eyes. There's a lot of work in that. I salute you, Skyler.
Yeah.
But hey, there's a guy named Skyjack with an American flag of some sort, or Keith Haring behind him.
That's right. It's a Keith Haring flag. You nailed it. I've been trying to put more American flags painted or drawn by kind of more of a criticism of the flag behind me these days.
So folks, we already have some of our usual supporters tuning in. This is great, but I'm excited today as Skyler has been talking with Skyjack Morgan, who is incredibly his own intelligent, interesting, outspoken, vegan activist for animal rights, and increasingly becoming more political in his broadcast in his own Skyjack Morgan show, which one thing I want to talk about, but I'm looking forward to what's going to go on today, whatever that might be, with basically two Skyjacks.
Two skies, double skies.
Double
Sky, double your sky. Hey, Skyjack. Sky. I'm already getting confused.
Yes, I know. With three first names, Skyjack Morgan is kind of. You call me Captain. That works too. There's a lot of people that call me that too. I forgot. It's been a while since someone called me that.
Well, welcome to the show. Looks like you brought some people over. I see some new names in the chat.
Oh yeah, we were talking about it on my stream. Hopefully some of them will come on over.
Wonderful. Yes. Few vegans of the world unite and grow our minority.
Yes, you have nothing to lose but your chains.
So, how did the show go this morning? We're trying to do a warm up here on this show every day. We do little bits of news, and I know that you are providing like a little bit of a news rundown on your show, which is pretty helpful. Although I doubt if I want to know most of the things that are happening in the world. But do you want to pick one that you shared with the world today and just give the listeners on this show an insight?
For sure. The Morning Sky Show, I kind of do a breakdown of the news through like a vegan anarchist lens, I guess I would call it. But I think the story that's kind of sticking in my craw today is this changing of the dime. Have you heard about this? How the new dime is coming out? No. And the eagle, as you and I grew up with, we all grew up with the Roosevelt dime. And on the back, there is an oak for strength, a torch for liberty, and an olive branch for peace. That's what's on the back. And on the front, and on the front is, I think, Eisenhower, right? But there's also the eagle with the olive branches and the arrows, which is the arrows are the 13 colonies of war. We can beat the English, and the olive branch is what we want. We want peace, right? They took out the torch, the whole oak tree. They took that out completely, and they're putting an eagle on it that's just got arrows. And there's an empty claw where the olive branch used to be. Now, their claim. So what's crazy is that there was a whole design for the 250th anniversary of America. These new coins are coming out, these commemorative coins, and they had a bunch of stuff with like Ruby Bridges. I think MLK was going to be on one. They had all sorts of ideas. They scrapped all that. Donald Trump got in office. They scrapped all that stuff. They don't want anything about civil rights on there.
No.
And they took the olive branch out of the eagle, and they're saying, well, that's because in the Revolutionary War we didn't have time for peace. It was all about war, and it's the 250th anniversary of our Revolutionary War, so clearly we've got to get rid of the olive branch. But I can't help but think that like every fascist country always has this super pro-war, hyper masculine idea of what the state should represent. And if the state is only representing war and not peace, or even like the tip of the hat to peace, like the olive branch, which has been a symbol of peace since the Roman times, like if we're going to delete those things, it does give me a little pause. Like, is that what we're going to display now? We're getting rid of the olive branch. It seems so dumb and small, but I feel like it's it's like a synecdoche, right? It's a tiny thing that represents the whole. I feel like that's what's happening here. What do you think?
When Skyler asked you to do something of the news of the day and you started talking about the redesign of the dime, I was like, what? And
Yeah.
I see where you're
The
going.
things that they put their, the things that they focus effort on.
But it actually kind of works iconographically, which is, I think it should be a rendering of Donald Trump with his pants down around his ankles and a 4-inch long ICBM missile, and then behind him maybe like a mushroom cloud in the background.
Maybe that's what it should be. You know, he's putting himself on the commemorative dollar. He's going to be the first. Yeah, and it's going to be the first president. Now, of course, it's against the law to do it, but there's a loophole because of the 250th anniversary. The president gets to decide what's going to be on the dollar, the commemorative dollar for the 250th anniversary. And he decided, of course, it's going to be himself with his like fight, fight, fight pose, you know, the one after he allegedly had his ear shot off before it grew back miraculously. So that's what's going to be on your dollar. You're going to look at his face every day if you decide to use coins, which who does these days? Why should I care, Jack? Right?
We could set a precedent, or he could set a precedent, since he is a precedent setter, if nothing else. On the back of the dime, have Bibi Netanyahu with the disappearing wedding ring.
Oh, I like that too. That's good too. We could think of all great. Maybe we should just put Benjamin Netanyahu's face on the dime. That was where, like, we don't have to be so clever. Just put his face on there. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
How about Bibi's like this, and then it's the back of Donald Trump's head here.
Yes, I like it.
With the back of his head, you get it?
Yeah, I like it very much. You know, there's lots of talk about, because the $20 bill was supposed to no longer have Andrew Jackson on it, but Andrew Jackson is Donald Trump's favorite president, so we're going to keep Jackson on it for now until we get rid of Donald Trump. But Andrew Jackson was supposed to be already off the 20 because, you know, Trail of Tears, genocide, all that. But Donald Trump says that Jackson is his favorite president, which is beautiful if you think about it. It's really...
He only knows about 3 anyway.
Yeah. Well,
no, seriously, literally, Jackson, Lincoln, and his favorite, Obama.
Yeah, I think he knows. He's got a picture of Reagan in his office, so I think he probably knows that one too, if he can remember who that guy is, right? And Biden. He talks about Biden a lot.
That's true. Very good.
Biden.
So you are increasingly you didn't start out doing a political show a year ago or so, and you've gone increasingly that direction. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on YouTube for a while, and I started out as doing, I wanted to do just building community for vegans. I didn't think that there was enough community. I just see more for activism. I am an activist, and I was doing more hardcore activism back then, and I just wanted a place to have community for vegans. And I basically did a show every day where I talked about kind of news through the vegan lens. And I would say it was probably like 80% animals, vegan stuff. I would go over like the press releases from PETA and stuff like that. And maybe 20% was international politics or presidential politics, American politics. And that has changed, right? Since 2024, it's changed a lot because of first the election, and then far more happened after that.
Well, we're gonna, and I think I see some little comments that I'm sure people aren't that. I don't know. Some people really, really want to avoid politics as much as possible. Like maybe go hear a conversation that doesn't include it. I think Honest Doubter might be alluding to that, or that we shouldn't spend time talking about Trump, or I don't know. You guys interpret this. And someone else
great
came over from
Honest Doubter says, isn't our focus on figureheads, which are symptoms of deeper issues, also an error? These leaders seem to me like liability shields for systems of control.
Ooh, I completely agree with that. I started talking about the reason why the big shift for me happened is when I'm doing outreach with people and I'm talking about animal slavery and animal
Mm.
exploitation and animal liberation, I'm basically having a conversation with people who have never employed critical thinking. And so I find myself having to train people how to just question the status quo. And so I agree that if by focusing on figureheads, you're taking some of the focus on off of the system that is producing these figureheads. But
Yeah.
this is why I don't consider myself a Democrat. I don't choose between red or blue. I think the animals are screwed either way. I think the
Mm.
people are screwed no matter who gets elected to varying degrees, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we've got to start looking at the systems of oppression that have all of us under their yoke.
Totally agreed. And same with warmongering. It wasn't like Biden was Mr. Peace or Obama, intelligent, urbane, I think sensitive, compassionate man, but totally invested in the war machine.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, well, and also he expanded the concentration camp system of America. Obama did. So, I mean, what's happening with ICE today is impossible without the presidency of Obama. So, like, just the
Damn.
infrastructure wouldn't exist. So,
Why do
just
you say that? Why do you say that?
well, okay, so George W. Bush created ICE and the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the deportations began in 2004. The first year of ICE, 34 people died, and that number is important. 34 people died in ICE custody, mostly because they weren't prepared for people getting sick in their concentration camps. They didn't have the facilities for them, and they just started arresting people and they started warehousing them. And guess what? When you corral people, just like when we put chickens into these giant buildings,
Yeah.
they get bird flu because they're confined. Same thing with humans. Okay, so over time, of course, the Islamophobia didn't go away, but it died down a little bit. Obama becomes president, and he decides for some reason that he wants to be the deporter in chief, and he deports more people than anyone in history, well, that we know of, right, in modern history anyway.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to do that. You've got to build more ICE facilities. You've got to expand that system. There's only one way to. Don't forget that the Holocaust happened towards the end of the war. In the beginning, it was just a deportation program. It was just mass deportation of undesirables, asocial, and Jews. Like, you have to build a concentration camp infrastructure in order to accomplish that goal, and Obama did that. Now, he expanded it tremendously, and expanded the Patriot Act, and entirely okay with spying on American citizens and killing American citizens abroad extrajudiciously. Obama did all of those things. So I'm not giving anybody a pass, man. We need to look at the systems of oppression, and we need to ask about our leaders. One thing I like to say on my show, Jack, is that the every president has been at best a major disappointment, and
Mm.
at worst they're bloody war criminals with lots of blood on their hands.
Well, I would say the liberal Democrat who arguably some can be decent, compassionate people, which is probably even more scathing indictment of the system. And then they are pressured by the system. Well, I have to move to the middle and be the president for everyone, which means a liberal Democrat becomes a centrist Democrat, a la, well, right of the New York Times, which for me
Yeah.
is too far to the right to begin with. But meaning the warmongering and, of course, pro-capitalism. And yeah, we can have a little regulation of capitalism. Basically, if someone makes $100 million in the old days, now $100 billion, well, they must have earned it and deserve it because they're so brilliant. Like all our captains of industry today, clearly the best and brightest among us.
Yeah, it's almost a religious mantra. Every Democrat, and not even just the Democratic people in politics, but talking heads on the news. Oh, I'm a capitalist. I'm a capitalist, just so everybody knows. But let me tell you my criticism that's going to be mild about. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, why do we have to have this genuflection over this? Oh, I'm a capitalist, so you can trust me. I'm not one of those pinkos. It's like. It's ludicrous. And what even is a capitalist at this point? A bunch of people who own no capital call themselves capitalists. I mean,
Believe it or not, this is not the topic we were going to discuss today. But
well, I knew this was going to happen. I mean, that's why I didn't actually prepare a ton of material because it goes where it can go. And I do eventually want to get to vegan activism and Leah Wilborn, who is someone who first put in my head the name Sky Jack Morgan and said, really bright, interesting guy, because you guys met at an animal rights conference and had a beer afterwards.
Oh
But she
yeah.
said, I want to just, I'll stick, we don't need to go there now, Skylar. I'll let you talk, I promise. But she said, please ask him about effective altruism and his opinion on that, which would take us back around to veganism, which I want to cover as well. And just serious question, are you checking text and stuff coming in as we are in this chat here? What's going on in your hand?
No, I'm taking notes.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
I have a pen. I have a pen and a paper. I wrote down EV Mux because that's the system you guys are using. No, I don't have it. I'm not checking text.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I don't mind if you are. I mean, you're bringing stuff. Look, I totally trust you, my friend. I just curious. Because for me,
it's a budget system. That's all. There's no.
No,
I love you're old enough. You're old enough to have a pen and paper. People use
everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. Yeah.
An honest doubter says you just got a new follower.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that. Yeah. Do you want
to by the way, that's actually really important. Let me get this in because I noticed we have a lot of views. Well, for us, relative amount of views compared to likes. And I was thinking, do that many people actually not like the show, or are they just like me and don't ever bother to click the like button? Because I'm pretty bad about that.
You gotta smash that thumb.
It actually matters, people. I hate to be the guy who says like and subscribe, but do it.
Indeed.
Honest Doubter has an interesting. I didn't know this, and I'm of the Jewish persuasion, so I should know some of this stuff. One of my earliest girlfriends who turned me lefty, gave me my first book from my girlfriend. It was so sweet. Back when I was 19, she gave me, here, read Treblinka.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
God, Lisa Myers, God bless her. Anyway, an honest doubter says they also blamed typhus as a reason to create the ghettos in Germany. It was for public health and safety. Sound familiar?
It's always about that. It's always about, and they also called them criminals and said that they were illegally in the country. It's the same playbook over and over again. It's not that hard to see if you're looking.
So two things that you said, Skyjack, I've got to, before I forget, because my brain doesn't work that well. You mentioned the maybe possible fake Trump assassination. Well, I just saw a clip from the other day when he was, for whatever reason, went to Kentucky for a rally, and somebody shouted something, and he just about fell to the ground in fear. And I'm like, we're supposed to believe this is the same guy who raised a fist in defiance when a bullet actually hit him. I mean, those two things don't add up.
There's a lot going on. A lot of people there said that the gunshots didn't sound like gunshots, but the thing is, do you remember when Charlie Kirk got murdered and the chaos?
Ooh? No, I don't remember it. Gee,
yeah,
it was so quiet about it.
But we saw the video.
Their favor at all.
He gets popped, and everyone's running different directions immediately. We just saw in Florida yesterday in Daytona on the beach during spring break, somebody popped a water bottle and the entire beach was chaos. It was pandemonium. Except in Butler, Pennsylvania, president gets shot in the ear, supposedly, blood, he's on the floor, and nobody moves. Everyone just stands there and applauds. You're telling me that there was somebody bleeding out in the bleachers and everyone was cheering and applauding? It's classic like kayfabe, man. Are you familiar with the term kayfabe?
No.
You've seen wrestling like the WWE. They present things that are fake but pretend that they're real. Right. Unlike kind of like in if you watch a theater, you know it's fake, they know it's fake. They're pretending that it's real. They're not pretending that it's real. They're trying to pretend. They're just playing make-believe. But in wrestling, it's called kayfabe. It's this presentation of things that we're all pretending this is actually happening.
Is that short for confabulation or something? Kayfabe? I haven't heard that expression before.
It's some kind of pig. It's been around since like the early days of WWF. I tried to look up the origin of it because I was thinking about kayfabe when he got shot, supposedly, allegedly got shot. Okay. I've seen some on dark web stuff. I've seen some pictures of the body of the kid who shot him, but I never saw one picture of the guy who got shot. Why is that?
Yeah, interesting. By the way, I just want to bring in a comment here, which I like. Coast Cider, new to us, welcome. An Afghani died just yesterday in ICE custody. Not that his nationality matters much, of course, but that reminded me of I mean, I've been aware of this phenomenon since I was in my 20s, which is a long time ago now. But we're like, oh my God, the war is terrible. What we're doing, we shouldn't be launching a preemptive war, which it is, on Iran. 6 Americans have already died. Like, huh?
Yeah, 13 now.
Well, 13. Well, what about the 1,000 or 1,500
Yeah.
of them, the brown people that died?
How about 161 little girls?
They're not mentioned. They're not considered as human beings. And it just disgusts me as a human being who values animal life, let alone human life.
How about just life?
Exactly.
Life. Like this is enlightenment thinking, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. This is supposed to be the building blocks of our way of life in America, and yet we're just they don't respect life. MAGA does not respect life. They don't care. You watch the news, man. I'm the only one talking about the little girls who got murdered. No one's talking about it already. 161.
You threw a number out there. You had a specific number about the number of kids that have been killed so far?
Well, you mean specifically about the school that was bombed in Tehran.
Yes.
Oh,
on the first day.
175
175 people were killed, 161 students, they say, little girls.
Right. And I have seen that only on alternative news, but it's not obviously in the mainstream news, of course. They don't. It is increasingly like a propaganda arm of the White House. Of the
and Brendan Carr now is telling news organizations they better mind their P's and Q's and how they report on Iran, or they're going to reject their FCC license. That is the act of despotism.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Like, how can he even say that out loud? How is it allowed to even be mentioned?
As I say pretty much every show now and think to myself every day, I just recently reread, from childhood, from school, Orwell's 1984. And it's obviously it's very well written, it's very well constructed, but it's really a great read because it's become now, as opposed to a dystopian warning of the future, it is actually the playbook that this administration is going by.
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
dismantling the media. We're basically going to take over the media and make it like the Russian media, where they are subjugated to the government's will. And if you speak up, you'll be shunned, if not, eventually later down the line.
Everything that conservative Americans were so against. You don't want to be like communist China or Russia, unless you're going to limit it to what we wanted to hear. And
they want. Yes, exactly. Well, also, I mean, near my house in San Clemente, California, they're building a surveillance tower, and this is the town that said that masks was tyranny. This is the town that said we're not going to enforce mask rules during COVID.
Oh, COVID, yeah.
And because it was government overreach. And yet now they're building a federal government controlled surveillance tower. And what they're saying they're going to do, they're doing it to watch the water in case there's illegal immigrants coming in.
Yeah.
In the waters of San Clemente, bullshit. And then they talk about what the distance they can see with these tower, and it's remarkable, the resolution and the distance they can see. It's just a spy tower.
Surveillance state.
It's a surveillance state. We're almost there. Now that really starts looking like 1984, because I saw this thing with George Orwell and how he's talking about 1984, that through violence and surveillance that you can control a society, and then like Aldous Huxley wrote how you can control society through drugs and
Brave
like
New
basically
World.
chemical, right, with Brave New World, right, with the chemical lobotomy. And he says like fascism, in a novel it's hard to talk about every facet of it, but it's all of them. It's going to be drugs, it's going to be brutality and violence, it's going to be surveillance. And you can't just read 1984 and think like, okay, that's all we have to look out for, because meanwhile we are also the most medicated we've ever been.
There's one more book in the trilogy, not to mention the movie THX 1138 by the great George Lucas before he went commercial with Star Wars Puppets in Space. But do you know the book This Perfect Day by Ira Levin? It's right in there. It's right in there, up there with Orwell. Anyway, I read these a long time ago. I may have to reread that. It's also really depressing. I choose to be an optimist and function in this world. And as a vegan, as you're already in a minority. But I find myself looking at other commentators kind of joking around about Trump, and it's like, hey, that's not appropriate. This is serious. This is really friggin' serious for our time. But I also then watch myself joking around because it's just so dark. I need to lighten it to survive a day.
I need to have it. Yeah, I remember when 9/11 happened and those towers came down. I was so relieved when I finally heard the first joke about the towers because it felt like it felt naughty when the first joke I heard about the World Trade Center. I remember it. I remember it was in German. It was in the German language. I remember it very vividly, and I I laughed, but I also was like, "Ah, damn, are we telling jokes about this already? Maybe we need this." But I felt relieved. Okay, this is something that we can, as a culture, kind of take. We need it. We need humor.
Well, Bill Maher thought so too back then when he had balls before he,
Oh my
emasculated
God.
himself, and he
Before
went
you
down to Trump to suck
got on his knees.
kiss the
Yes.
ring, right? But anyway, I mean, you remember how Trump lost. Trump, interesting, how um, he lost his first show, which was politically incorrect.
Right, on
He made,
ABC.
I'm pretty sure if I have that right, correct me if I'm wrong, the quip was something to the effect of, say what you will, but the terrorists, meaning who flew the planes into buildings and tried to kill themselves and take out American targets, they weren't cowards.
Yeah, they weren't cowards.
And that was going too far, even though it was a simple truth.
And
Oh well, he was comparing it to the people to our warships being out in the ocean shooting missiles onto
From far
people
away.
on land and saying that
And
that was
snipers.
cowardly.
Right. And Saddam was hiding in his bunker, remember? Well, our president was in the White House, which is a fortified basement bunker, in effect.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say stuff like that on ABC. Now he still is maintaining that Donald Trump is anti-war. This guy Bill Maher. Don't even get me started. I watch that show every Friday.
I couldn't handle it anymore. I stopped watching him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to watch. I can't not. I watch all that shit because now I'm a news show, so I'm watching all these guys, and
I can tell how you're dressed. Look.
Yeah, well, I didn't change before I. This is how I do my morning show, the Morning Sky. I do a night show that I'm dressed kind of less. I'm more casual. I do a call-in show and argue
Not
with.
a judgment. I'm just playing with you. I mean, if the joke is, I would never. I'm not going to wear a suit again. I did that a long time ago in my advertising days. Absolutely not. I wouldn't draw the line. Well, wait a second. You got a contract? How much money are we talking?
Just so I am not wearing one of my. I have many suits. I used to work in Vegas. I wore suits to work every day, and
Croupier, what were you doing in Vegas?
I was a food and beverage manager. I managed the floor of the largest casino in the world, MGM Grand, or it used to be the largest.
Wow. That's why you have this kind of style about you. You can really pull it off and blend in, right? Hey,
Kind of yeah. Kind
I
of
teach you, young man. Right.
yeah,
What a
I've
lovely
lost
drive you have.
I've lost a little bit of my dash, but I'm trying to be. I'm still trying to be dashing for the last couple more years of dashing. I'm trying to eke out. But it's funny now. My suits I'm just wearing like a cheap sports coat that I threw on because it's a little cooler. Like I don't know. It's so funny. Everyone thinks I'm wearing a suit, but it's just a shirt and tie with a cheap blazer. And I have a closet full of suits that I never wear anymore because I mostly wear shorts and t-shirts now.
And no underwear, no pants.
That's right. I'm a completely bottomless.
Well,
Yes,
that's
exactly.
why we're cropping at the waist today.
Exactly. But we talked about. I want to talk about effective altruists so I can throw some stones at the vegan community if that's okay. Do you guys want to talk about that, Skyler?
Go for it.
Well, let me at least tease people with what was prepared and we're not going to get to today.
Well, that's kind of a real tease, isn't it? If we can't go there. Go ahead, Tyler. Go for it.
Well, you guys mentioned someone in the comments said, "Uh-oh, pets," and I know that people have different feelings about owning pets. Wolf Bear came in to see me today after, and you talked about the treatment of human beings, the people getting sick inside of cages, us as the most intelligent species not being prepared for the likelihood of all these people in an enclosed area maybe getting sick, which is just dumb as hell. And of course, all the illnesses that come with mass caging of other animals. And you mentioned that humans are okay with treating other humans poorly, particularly the MAGA crowd. And I was just thinking about the justifications that we go through in our minds where you start with a calf in Point Reyes, where I see the babies stolen from their mothers living in isolation pens. And to me, I was just like, what the hell? How is anyone?
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
We've lost our host, which is amazing since we're going through his feed.
I know, no, but we're still on. So, dang.
Or
Well,
we might just be on with each other.
yeah, I think we might. Yeah, we're not live anymore. Let me know in the chat if we are live. If you could see me, let me see Co-Sider. Let me know if you could still see me and if we're still talking to you, and we'll continue. Otherwise, we'll shut up. Anybody, please hit.
Well, at the very least, we'll be Skyjack Jack, just having our own Uh-oh, offline. Oh, God.
Oh no! Dang it!
That's funny. So much for FMUX.
So much for that. I guess. And I don't see the. Oh, I do say still. We're still live. Paralleler says we're still live. Okay, good. Oh,
Okay, here
now
it
it's
is.
back just in time.
That's
Everybody-
impressive, Skyler. We were running the show without you, even though you're hosting it.
Yeah, how did that happen? Cool.
So continue with what we have a. You
on the
were
back anyway. So anyway, you go from there. You go from the justifying treating baby cows like that so that humans can.
Oh no, what's happening over there in Point Reyes, guys?
And then you go to dogs, who are supposed to be our best friends, and you have these dog farms. Like this one is actually called a dog farm, and no,
Uh-oh.
and at the
You're breaking up there. Maybe lower the resolution of your. Are you broadcasting at 1080, Skyler?
me last time, I don't know why my thing keeps dropping out.
It might be
Is it only me?
Or
It is
yeah, it seemed to be
just-
only you. Were you pulling in another feed too, by the way, or not? No.
Me? No.
Yeah, you, Skyler. No.
I'm just showing the screenshots. So this is news that my girlfriend shared with me. This is San Francisco trying to pretend to be on top of things. And what it says is that if dogs aren't spayed and neutered, they're going to come to your homes and take them because of cracking down on the dog population.
Mhm.
And yet the people who mass produce dogs for a living not only get to do that, but are protected from people who go and try and rescue those animals from that misery. And those people who try to protect those animals from that misery go to jail, so that people who are creating the overpopulation problem can continue to create the overpopulation problem for profit. Now, you can only get away with that kind of disgustingness via politics and political power, right? How do you remove politics from that? In fact, the idea of an ordinance being put in place is politics. This is all legislation on some level, but the only legislation that's taking place is the illusion of something happening. Hey, we're going to pass this thing that says everybody's pets need to be spayed and neutered, as if they're the ones that are going out and, cranking out thousands of new puppies every single day, like these farms are doing.
I mean, the ordinance are. It's funny because politics and morality, right? And is more. Are we ever going to be a moral group? Are human beings capable of it?
Not if we continue to fool ourselves with these things that distract us. Like, oh, now I'm moral because I chopped the balls off of my dog, and now it's just standard practice. I mean, if you're moral, then you just become a responsible owner, which of course we can get into a whole discussion about what a responsible owner is, because most human beings in no way, shape, or form should own another living creature.
Well, yeah,
or even have their own. They shouldn't
we know that in California we're perfectly okay with slavery, right? We had slavery on the ballot last time around, and we voted it down, right? We had a ballot initiative last election cycle in California to abolish slavery in the prison system, and we voted against it. It didn't pass. We now still have that loophole in the 13th Amendment in California. If we're okay with these forms of slavery, then why wouldn't we be okay with whatever's going on with these dogs? And I guess when it comes to politics end up just being who can exert power when we have these government when you're talking about legislation. Morality just becomes who has enough power to enforce morality.
Sadly true, and it's decayed. I mean, the rot is so great now; it's just hanging out there for all to see with the current administration. Here's an interesting little story. I don't know if I shared this before, but I went to high school in Westchester County, New York, a wealthy suburb. We were the poor artists, as I am now, in Marin County, California, in a well-to-do community. And in 10th grade, I was a straight A student in Mr. Megason's geometry class. And next to me, on my left, sat a young man named Ari Fleischer.
Yeah.
Ari Fleischer is the former press secretary for George W. Bush, who they met in Texas when he was running for, I guess, for the presidency back then as governor. And Ari hooked up with them. And Ari was a straight B student who sucked up to me because I was an A+ student, and he wanted the answers to tests and stuff. Not a bad guy, friendly enough. I went to his house once. He lived in Bedford, New York. I lived in Mount Kisco, which was the kind of mixed social ladder town. He was in well-to-do Bedford. He was the first house I went to. He had central air conditioning. I didn't know about that in 1975 or 76. This was 70. Oh, actually earlier than that. But in any case, I watched Ari Fleischer now. Like he and I are the same age, and he's lost all his hair and he's wearing a suit, and he's a commentator on Fox News now, having been in the White House. And I got to say, this is Skyler's going to wince at Jack's usual naivete, but I'm looking at the guy like it's one thing to work for Bush. I kind of understand how you could do that, and throw a football outside Air Force One and get all the power and attention for being with the president. But now he's actually an apologist for the Trump administration. And talk about moral decay. It's like, it's the entire re-Trumplican party, as I call them, but it's kind of stunning to me to know somebody like that. Like, he's intelligent. He's not insane. Like, how can you do that? And just for the reasons you just said, power, attention,
proximity
money.
to power. This is what Lindsey Graham is going through, right? It's proximity to power. And I would argue LBJ is like the prime example of this, always finagling his way into power, finagles his way to the presidency. And it's always these guys that power is intoxicating. But I guess the question for when it comes to animals, how can we get into those positions of power so that we can enforce morality if the status quo and the realpolitik is that human beings just aren't going to behave in a moral, they're not going to behave morally. I used this quote on yesterday about it was Hennessy, Eamon Hennessy, who said that the anarchist is a person who behaves without a cop telling them to, or a person who behaves who acts morally without a cop telling them to behave. And is it possible to have everyone behave without a cop telling them to?
I like to think so, but of course, religious leaders would argue. And by the way, I agree with the comment. Thank you for putting that up, Skyler. What a beautiful creature that is there. My God.
We'll get to why that's up in a second. And Honest Doubter obviously has a lot to say about the pet thing. And I owe you that episode. And in fact, it was going to be today. And it's actually Skyjack's fault that it's not today because
it got Skyjack. It got Skyjack.
That's Skyjack. We got Skyjack the episode.
But the moral corruption is one of the reasons that we have so many. Here's the thing: it's like, oh, don't have a dog, and yet, what's your television is showing you? Oh, look at all these poor miserable animals that need to be adopted, and why are all those poor miserable animals there needing to be adopted? Because something that is morally corrupt is allowed as a business.
Yeah.
So, and are those people going to voluntarily stop if? Or they too, again, it's Upton Sinclair, their understanding can't ever be achieved because they're making a living off of it.
Well, yeah, profit motive, right?
Corruption of everything by capitalism.
Yeah, we get in this weird position. Like, I look at most dog owners I see, I'm like, oh, you're not a very good dog owner. And then what's the counter argument could be? Well, it could be in the shelter or it could be in the kill shelter. Well, that's never going to stop being the case as long as humans are allowed to legally produce life as a business.
It's a whole show topic, Skyler, and I look forward to it. I don't even have rigid opinions about it all because I know, like our buddy Ray Cooper, who's in Ireland now, World Peace Chocolate guy, is against pet ownership. He doesn't own a dog or a cat. Good for you, Ray, the purist.
I
respect it, but I also think, conversely, just now I'm getting drawn into the thing I'm not going to talk about. I see so many people completely cut off from nature, and their only tenuous, delicate, but powerful, loving connection to another living creature, if they live alone, is their dog or their cat.
Is that what they have from that? Is that what you think they're getting out of that relationship? I think they're getting out of the relationship. It's a service dog. Every dog's a service dog. We expect them to be our shrinks. We expect them to be our therapists, every single one, because people are lonely and they don't want to reach out to their fellow human beings. And
Yeah.
we've artificially created that problem. And
Yep.
I want to add too, like the idea that we have ads for shelter dogs. That's not the problem. Top Gun has a dog in it for no reason, and yet we got Tom Cruise scruffling the dog in Top Gun Maverick. He had to have a big golden retriever in there. It's insidious. It's in every movie you watch. There's some cute dog living with the people. Everyone's got to have one. Every apartment now in America, you're allowed to have dogs. When I was a kid growing up, they didn't allow dogs in the apartments. I remember moving out of my parents' house. I couldn't have a dog. And I'm happy for it.
This shows the rule of you can't say I'm not going to talk about a topic without talking about the topic.
You know where else you see that, Skyjack? You see it in the farming ads. The farmer there with his dog.
Oh yeah, exactly.
All advertising. When I worked at J. Walter Thompson, the joke was
Put a
J.
dog
Walter
in it.
Thompson had Goodyear tires and Kodak, and everything was either a puppy, a baby, or both.
Yeah, because William Randolph Hearst had that famous line where he said, show me a cover of a magazine with a beautiful woman, a baby, or a dog, and that's a successful publication."
Right.
If you have one of those on the cover, a beautiful woman, a baby, or a dog.
Unless you're Oprah, then it can just be Oprah.
And then but then we wonder why we have body issues, baby making problems, and and a dog issue here.
And a Trump administration official who took her dog, 14 months old, out to the gravel pit to shoot it because it didn't obey her control.
Well, that's the thing, Jack. Do you actually believe that when people bring dogs into their home, they are communing with nature and the sanctity of life? Hell
So
no, it's just a thing. It's
Hang
an
on.
accessory.
Let me direct. I wanted to answer before. The answer to that query is it depends. For some, it is a loving thing.
I thought this was a future show. There's no way these are going to be short conversations.
Okay.
Next week, if we're
Off.
Bring me back. I'd love to argue about it.
No, let's do this. My God, we have a vegan Skyler.
Yeah.
We have Skyjack.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've always, if you two would only get married, and Skyler, if you would take Skyler's actual real name, Skyler, you could have a child, and it would be named Skyler. So that's the important thing I wanted to say.
I love it.
Move on to talk about
That's
vegan.
the only way you can get health insurance these days.
Well, if you're allowed to marry as gay
I'm
men
in.
in the state in
I'm
California.
in.
So can we talk about
I
vegan
have a
diet?
shark on the screen
Yeah, okay.
because
With the shark.
25 years ago I started making films about sharks because I was filming sharks, and I was like, let me turn this footage into film. And of course, somewhere deep inside me, I was not just because I could, do it because it's cool, but because I actually love nature and I'm fascinated by sharks and wanted good things for sharks. And somewhere along the way, I was like, you're not really helping save these animals unless you talk about the political decisions being made that are causing them to die.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started introducing it, of course, there was pushback. People were like, oh, it's a shark channel. There's politics even here. And my question is, who do you think we're saving sharks from? The scared people in Kansas on the couch are calling in to their
Australians.
You've got to kill the sharks. No, it's once again, it's money, it's businesses, it's people that want you to believe that there's a threat there. Therefore, they can have their resorts and a beach where people feel like there aren't living creatures in the ocean. It's an extension of a hotel swimming pool. Or you have the fishing industry. Obviously, they want to keep killing until there's nothing left to make profits. Finning industry. Well, how do you think any of these things get stopped? The only way that they're allowed is if somebody in charge says it's allowed. And that's all politics.
And stir up fear in the public so that people don't like sharks, so they don't mind when they're killed en masse for industrial fishing, which is fishing.
That too. So again, the idea, the flip side of that is people praising the cinematographers who go on to Shark Week and talk a bunch of nonsense and saying, wow, you're doing so much for these animals. Really, what are they doing? If you aren't making political changes, you're not doing anything. if you're continuing to spread fear and hype, which is what Shark Week is, you're hurting the animals.
Or,
If
or,
you
or
go
property
ahead.
damage. Property damage works too. You don't have to all be through legislation. Not that I'm promoting property damage, everybody. I don't think you should all buy boats and ram the shipping, ram these fishing industry boats. But it helps.
Yes, you should.
Well, that's
Yes,
the Rainbow Warrior for Greenpeace was effective
right.
in its time for sure. And I was going to say, I mean, Skyler's a filmmaker, and forgive me, I forget the name of it. Was it Monsters? What was the film that I saw at the festival with Corinne and Andy?
Monsters.
Monsters. Yeah, wonderful documentary. Is that available, by the way, in your Watching Human channel somewhere or something?
It is. Yes.
Okay, for me, that shows it's fascinating in another country where the fear of sharks is monetized to get you to come to their shark protected beaches, which of course aren't even protected from sharks and don't even need to be protected from sharks. But this guy's an amazing filmmaker, and I think every kind of activism can contribute in its way. And I'm always advocating for people to follow their heart, which is whether it's on the individual level to go out in the street and advocate for activism, whether it's to make films, whether it's to get involved in politics, whether it's, God help you if you got the patience for it, because I don't, to be involved in enabling, enacting legislation. All of it is effective in its way. And we need to be many more of us vegan activists who care about other living creatures in this planet and do it in whatever way is most moving to you personally, so you can advocate for whatever the realm is passionately.
I would love to just keep making fun music videos about sharks and how cool they look. But like the piece of me that has a sense of responsibility knows that you're not doing what needs to be done. Kind of like while as a shark filmmaker, I finally realized you can't not be a vegan and keep preaching about helping these animals.
Yeah.
And very good, Skyler. And I also think you can make a shark film showing how cool they are and get people to love them. That can be part of your work, even when you feel your own pull to do the political one, showing the corruption around it. But ultimately, I think it comes from love. I mean, for all of us. And I don't know you, Sky Jack. I'm just meeting you here today. But I mean, to anybody who's a vegan, especially if I meet a vegan man, it's like, wow, heart-centered person who loves animals. It's just blinders off. That's what they are.
Oh, it gets even crazier. By the way, so Skyjack was going to come on next week, and we were going to co-interview a scientist who's been fighting hard against a political movement that's backed by corrupt scientists to continue pushing the fear of sharks. We have shark scientists. I'm sure you're not surprised in this day and age, considering the Trump administration and our anyway.
Well, Ralph Nader. What did Ralph Nader say? He said
he just messaged me this morning that he can't do it because, as a professional scientist, he's got to avoid the controversy because some of the scientists who are on the corrupt side of the government there are female, and now they're coming out with we're being attacked because we're female thing, and it worked. It scared him. I mean. That's another form of that's gender politics, right?
Yeah, well, the animals always lose, though.
The animals always lose.
You had a quote from Ralph Nader you were going to reference?
Do you remember when he said, if you're not turned on to politics, politics will turn on you? It's just a classic.
I don't remember that, but he was one of my gurus in the 80s, along with Barry Commoner.
Yeah, I think that, yeah. But Nader, another lovable loser. But I do love him, just like Barry. I love all the lovable losers. I think they're all great, Bernie and all them. But I we want to separate politics out. Let's keep politics onto the side. It's always the case of the ruling class always wants you to, what aren't you allowed to talk about at bars? Do you remember? You're not allowed to talk about religion, politics, or how much money you make? Yeah. Because when you start talking about those things, you want to go kill your boss. That's why you're not allowed to talk. If you start talking about how much money your boss makes and how much money you make, how religion is holding us down, and how other people's religions are doing the same thing, and if you mix that with politics and beer, you're gonna go kill the leaders. You're not allowed to talk about that shit. No siree. So you have to be turned on to politics. I can't believe people aren't.
Yeah. Well, they are now. They are this day, these days.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, there are enough people. Don't forget, Donald Trump still has a 30% approval rating. 30% of Americans are still perfectly all right with what's happening today.
Well, those folks are the ones who aren't paying attention. They're busy with their jobs, right? They're not watching the news of any kind.
Yeah, they are. They're watching Fox News.
or
Well,
they're just
I've got to stop saying that because almost every news organization is purchased.
yeah. Well, CNN's going to be about to be the same, right? They're owned by the
Right,
Ellison
right.
family now. But it's funny you say that they're not turned on to politics, but Donald Trump has turned them on. But they're turned on in the worst way. They're turned on in the way of nodding and of acquiescence. And that is not the American way. We're supposed to be a country of rebels and revolutionaries. We're supposed
Would
to
you
have middle fingers up when the president tells us to do something.
would you call it politics, or would you call it seriously? For me, what's being spread now, as I call him, the orange antichrist, bigotry, fear, hatred, distrust your neighbor. Those things are being spread, and those are we all have that in us, but that's being stoked, right?
Yeah, but those are tools of the politician, right? That's the tools of the working of the ruling class. The hegemony has always used that to divide the hoi polloi, so that the bourgeoisie end up supporting the ruling class because they're so afraid of becoming poor. It's funny because I consider myself politically active, and every time I got in trouble with the police when I was doing vegan activism, I said I'm a political activist. Well, how dare you say that I don't have freedom of speech? This is my political position. That's what gives us our right to protest for animals, by the way. To say it's not political is ridiculous. But with my channel, I think we need to teach people civics. This is the problem. They believe Donald Trump because they have no civics lessons. They don't know how the government works. They don't know that you're supposed to be questioning authority, man. It's a problem.
Yeah. Skylar, Corinne is asking the question I had as well, which is, what's in the drone photo you're showing on the screen?
Oh, so that is a lovely dog farm in
Dog
Wisconsin.
farm.
So
Jeez, I
it
thought it
looks
was a
like the
chicken.
chicken. It looks like the chicken coops. You just shove as many
Yeah.
creatures in there as possible. It's just mass production sheds, except that our best friends are inside of there, and it's perfectly legal. And if you go, and I was reading the article from the rescuers about the dogs, being touched for the first time in their lives and getting off the wire mesh cages and licking the faces frantically. And
For
of
those of
course,
you who
and
don't know, this is DXC's recent,
Yeah,
yesterday,
Wayne.
2 days ago, right, breaking into a facility I don't know the detail. I just saw the headline. I didn't dig into it. But anyway, they rescued dogs that were not for breeding, but for vivisection, right? And they pulled out 20 beagles or something like that. And then, of course, they got arrested for doing the
right,
rescue, not the
right,
people who are, abusing and torturing
right,
dogs in silence, in the dark, right?
right,
Does
exactly.
anyone know more? Sky Jack, not Skylar, not Jack, Sky
Yeah.
Jack? Do you know more details about that?
Well, I know that the Ridgeland case was, DXC breaking them out and doing their open rescue situation. I watched Wayne with the crowbar breaking in and everything. Now he's being hauled off again, right?
He's in prison, I thought, or he's in jail at the moment, facing a trial again, right?
Again, well, yeah, for Ridgeland, right? I think that's, or maybe, I can't remember. I can't keep up with
Ridgeland, I
all of
think that's right.
his.
That's right. Yeah, Ridgeland. Yeah, and it's beagles too. I mean, it is bizarre. I'm wow. I had these little beagle. I mean, what's so interesting as a vegan activist, like, well, this is a no-brainer. Everybody cares about beagles. They may not care about cows, pigs, and chickens, sheep, goats, turkeys, but oh my God, a beagle.
You say that, Jack, but we're the ones that bred beagles to be small and manageable so that we could easily transport them and test on them. I mean, this is why the
Um,
beagle, surely people must care. People are
but
the
we
ones
do
who
like
did
to
this.
hold on to an illusion, Skyjack, because what Jack said I can relate to, because I was like, my first thought was,
Surely.
is this in
Sure.
another country, or do I get to use an example of the United States of America doing things that human beings claim they're appalled by, and it's happening right here?
But
Because if it was in Southeast Asia, how many people would be like, "Oh, we got to stop these motherfuckers"? But
Well,
no,
they're still going to do that. The arrestees have been released, but they've still been charged, haven't they? I think they're just going to wait trial for another case that we'll see go through, and another case where we'll see, well, we got him on conspiracy charges, conspiracy to trespass. Don't forget that Zoe went to jail not for rescuing chickens, but for conspiracy to trespass, for bugging the trucks, for putting for watching the GPS on the trucks and stuff like that.
right.
S-
But
Like,
that's a much higher bar to clear, because the average American, if I can say what that is, doesn't care about chickens, doesn't think of them the same way as not even just a dog, but a cute little beagle, Snoopy, for heaven's sake. Like, how
yeah,
can you
but they're
not
not
care?
going to prosecute them over the beagle. They're going to prosecute them over breaking the door. You see, this is how we do it in America. We're never going to prosecute people over protesting for their rights. We're going to protest that we're going to prosecute them because they were standing next to a guy who threw a brick through a Starbucks window. That's always what we're doing.
I certainly agree with you for the indictment of the system, but I do think the activists can be effective in bringing attention to what's going on in that picture
Maybe.
behind closed doors, and people will be outraged. And of course, as with the No Kings rally coming up in a week and a half, it is important. One of the many things that needs to be done. There are many things that needs to be done on all angles, but to bring out people onto the street in massive, unprecedented numbers can actually frighten enough politicians to then grow a backbone.
That's
and a
true.
set of balls to do the right thing. And it's
That's
just not
protest.
only it's going to fix the system, but it's a necessary component.
How do you feel about open rescue? You think that standing around waiting to get arrested is a way to usher in change?
I have an absolute concrete answer to your question. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Meaning it can bring media attention. It can work. It can be effective.
You can bring media attention by burning this fucker down, but instead I don't know where animal rights activists started. Look, I love DXC, blah blah blah. Everyone, all activism is good activism, okay? And I don't want to poo-poo anyone who's willing to stand up for animals. Go. But I think people need to understand that when you're arrested and convicted, you are changing your life forever in America. And what people are doing is committing a crime, whether or not it's not really a crime because you're rescuing dogs, blah, 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 blah. In the eyes of the despot, the tyrants, you are breaking the law. And you're going to stand around like a chump and get arrested? Why? What happened to the masks? What happened to the bolt cutters? What happened to the cover of night?
Well, so this is the propaganda war where the dominant, system is going to say what you just described, and then the activists are going to get their few cents. And if there's enough friction there, it will make the news and can change minds. By the way, I want to read some comments here. Kathy Skywalker, I'm guessing a Skyjack fan. Hopefully those rescued beagles can be adopted out. Yes, Corinne saying twice, she's screaming it now because I haven't been paying attention. All the arrestees.
Oh no, I saw that. I mentioned it. They've been released, but I think they're still charged.
Well, certainly they're charged and they're going to have a trial and all that. And that can be used as Zoe Rosenberg did for the chicken rescue to bring more attention to an issue.
What changed? Let me ask you, what changed? It brought attention to the fact that we're killing chickens. Yeah, we killed 10 billion chickens. When I worked in Las Vegas, literal bones in the street, bones scattered around from people eating chicken and throwing their bones over their shoulders as they walk down the road. I don't think we need more attention.
And I think we do. But I mean, I get your outrage. Look, you and I agree on this. I mean, my God, we're these freaky thing called vegans. But it's exactly because people are conditioned to it's not actually a chicken that I harmed in any way, and it's natural to kill chickens anyway. I mean, this is the conditioning, and you guys.
Yes, totally. But how does standing waiting to get arrested? People were afraid of the ALF because they were going to burn down your department store if you were selling fur, and eventually some of them got caught, and some of them did some real time. But those crimes were serious. That brought a lot of attention to fur. And how do you think Ridgeland Farms or the chicken? I forget the name of the chicken farm, the chicken production company, or the pig production,
or Petaluma Poultry.
Petaluma. It was Petaluma Poultry, and then the pig one in Utah, right? Like these guys. Has anything changed? Did any of these?
But it's like going back to 1962, and then we're going to get to the point. Raise light, Skyler.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt, and then we'll come back to what you guys are doing.
My point, which is it needs to be done again and again and again, Skyjack, repeatedly. In other words, 1962, are MLK's and Malcolm X's demonstrations making any difference? Well, you could say at that point they hadn't. They just
I'm sorry. Comparing it to the civil rights movement is ridiculous, and you keep and it's a. I'm not saying you're ridiculous.
I know. I'm having fun.
Everybody. Wayne does it every time you meet Wayne. He'll be like, "Well, the civil rights movement, and we're just like Rosa Parks." No, you're not. Rosa Parks was fighting for her right to be on that bus. The animals are incapable of doing that, so we're doing that as their proxy, and it's not the same thing. It's the only movement that I can think of where people are lining up to get arrested for others innocent beings who are being slaughtered, literally slaughtered. We kill 10 billion chickens a year. I don't know Zoe Rosenberg getting arrested. And by the way, Zoe Rosenberg, she loses she can't own a gun anymore. She can't. There's all sorts of shit she's not going to be able to do now because she's convicted of all these felonies, right?
Well, public speaking and fraternization and such, right?
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff.
Fraternization, talking with friends.
Yeah, right. There's all sorts of stuff now. So she's a great activist. We want her voice. She's amazing. Why are we risking these incredible activists' freedom?
Yeah. I hear you. And also, by the way, for the civil rights movement, your point taken, but I would feather it and say, what about white Americans who marched with black Americans to get rights for black Americans?
That's true. They did serve a purpose as well, but that's still human beings standing up for humans is a very different different dynamic than human beings standing up for animals.
I totally agree, and I think you remind me, veganism is this amazing movement where it's speaking up for those who will, as you point out, never, ever, they're incapable of speaking up for themselves in the way that society will hear. Of course, they have voices and emotion and expression, but it's not something that our culture will probably ever understand fully. Our species won't understand fully.
But why is that? I think that's because we make slavery illegal, but we never come to terms with why slavery is wrong. Ask any person in the street, why is slavery wrong? And they can't answer. And that's something that we should be able to have on the spot. Why slavery is wrong. Animal slavery is what we're engaged in. If slavery is wrong, it doesn't become right because the species changes.
Thank you. I like it.
Well, you've got the barrier of speciesism there as a wonderful topic. And with that, I turn it over to Conservancy Chooses Point Raised Grazer. Skyler, do we really need to go there?
Well, it's my third example. I used dogs, I used sharks, and now I'm using livestock because here we just talked about how horrible the treatment of the dogs and the calves are, and here is perhaps the richest of all of those multimillionaire, subsidy-sucking, taxpayer-raping ranchers being rewarded. Everybody's celebrating that the ranchers are out of point raised. No, this rancher seems to have inherited all the other ranchers' land and is now being given more money to target graze in addition to his other grazing. And these are the people who engage in subjugating other living creatures. And so with that in mind, you have a great point, Sky, because if you can't put your finger on why it was wrong in the first place, how are we ever going to stop rewarding people? If you are able to, in your mind, say that these are good people, because that's the thing that I think we have to get past with ranchers is you can't even criticize them because they're the salt of the earth and or what we were all raised to think of as good people.
Yes, exactly.
This is what they do. And so
for feeding America, they're doing a very difficult job. It's necessary.
It's hard. It's heavy lifting all those government subsidies from the public taxpayers into the truck.
And we need to separate ourselves. I've said this on other shows. We as humans in our insecurities need to separate ourselves from other animals and say, no, we're different. No, we're different. And therefore, me showing myself inside of the calf pen there, as I did back in 2018, does that move anyone? Maybe some people. Others are like, no, that's just ridiculous. There's no comparison whatsoever. And then I put Wolf Bear in there, my dog. Okay, does that move anybody? Maybe some people. But at the end of the day, if you're going to, instead of say imprisonment is wrong, slavery is wrong, treating other creatures a certain way because you have the power to do so is wrong. If we can't get to that point, then you can easily find an excuse.
This is my problem, though.
They have.
Skyler, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The excuse comes from we say slavery is wrong and everyone agrees, they nod, but they're only nodding because the bosses said so. The bosses are saying slavery's wrong, so I guess slavery's wrong these days. What are you going to do? But you never engage with the critical thinking at all. They never. The public at large never thinks about why is slavery wrong. Martin Luther King Jr., before he died, said that one day the absurdity of the almost universal human belief in the slavery of other animals will be palpable. Martin Luther King Jr. said that. That's how long, Coretta Scott King, vegan, Dexter Scott King, vegan. These people were they understood slavery. They were fighting against it.
Cesar Chavez, too, I think, right?
Cesar Chavez, because he saw this as just another form of enslavement and exploitation. But
Yeah.
we're not. This is why back to the original conversation a little bit. This is why I started talking more and more about politics and civics. It's more. I call myself a critical thinking advocate because really all I want to do is tell people like, look, man, if I can't convince you that slavery's wrong, then I'm never going to convince you that animal slavery is wrong. I'm starting.
There's the continuum, by the way. Critical thinking. On the other end of the spectrum, ChatGPT.
I want to encourage some interaction. Everyone in the live chat, try to put into words why you think slavery is wrong, and then if you're watching later, put it in the comment under the video. Why? Try to put it into words. Why is slavery wrong?
Good question.
Coast side.
And by the way, which comes first, economics or race, or is it just easier? You've got a free workforce. You can enslave something else and use their bodies as your commodity, or use their bodies to do labor for you. And then when it's another species, that makes it very convenient. And if it's your species but they look different than you, that's a different form of make a separation, I guess, that makes it convenient.
Oh yeah, especially if you can convince people that they're criminals or illegals. Right. I mean, part of our concentration camp system now, they're paying ICE detainees $1 a day to work at slaughterhouses.
So listener Paraloish makes a comment to that effect. Under cover of night with masks makes the criminality more easily acceptable as an excuse to oppress the activists and the animals. Meaning you have to sneak around and break in. You're a criminal. It looks bad what they're doing. Fair point.
They're going to call you that either way. Don't forget.
That's true.
The people without the mask, they went to jail.
Right. Although it's funny, it's interesting, all the comments here. All the arrestees have been released, as we know. And Ridgeland doesn't want to go to trial, says Corinne as well.
Everyone gets released before trial. Guys, I've been arrested for animal rights activism too. They release you. They arrest you and then they release you. They're not just going to keep you there. They don't want to feed you.
Unless you've done something really
bad.
Okay.
We're going to keep reading your comments if you provide us your ideas on slavery. And I also, here's another question that, at least for me, helped to drive it home. How many people have actually had their freedom taken from them? How many people have actually had their lives taken from them and not known what was going to become of them? So that you can actually think about what life is like on the other side of the bars, looking out at other creatures that have your future in their hands. Have any of you ever gone through that?
Meaning been arrested, been put in jail?
You're saying? Yeah, that's not. I mean, there's going to jail and knowing you're going to get out, and then there's going to jail and thinking you're not getting out.
It's often that depends on the level of inebriation. But I mean, I'm telling you, because I mean, but like, I don't know, man. The few times I've had even not officially arrested, just in the back of a police car, or had my hand behind my back by a policeman, you're so close. Just that small taste of being confined is very, very unnerving.
You say that. I tripped into these bizarre videos. Of course, once you watch one, the algorithm feeds you more, and it was people being drunken, all the drunken disorderly in public, and then it's the body cam of a policeman. This is out of other context, presumably, just arresting that person. And at first they're yelling, they're drunk, they're belligerent, kind of privileged, like, you can't tell me, this is America, blah, 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 blah. And then the cop, provoked. And they were the ones they're showing, of course, the cops are very well behaved to their credit, which many times they are, of course. Anyway, once the man or woman is handcuffed against the car and they're being put in the back of the car and they realize, shit, I got arrested, complete, just to your point, change of emotion. They're crying, they're repentant, I'm really sorry, can you let me go? I apologize, officer. And I'm not ridiculing them, I'm just seeing the human emotion shifts dramatically when agency, to use the word here in the chat, is taken away.
Yeah, when someone takes that away from you, like I've seen, especially, man, I've seen a lot of things with cops over the years, especially in Vegas and in resorts. People get drunk, and then the manager comes out and says, "All right, well, you're going to have to leave, and I'll call you a cab or something." But a lot of times they're just they're not going to comply. So then the police eventually come. Eventually, you get security, hotel security comes, and then police come. But as that's happening, the people are building themselves up, and a lot of times they'll put their hands on an officer. And as soon as that happens, they've got their hands behind their back and they've got handcuffs on them. And all of a sudden, they're crybabies. You're right. They'll, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean all the things I said. And they've run through everything. They were shitty to their waiter, to the manager, to the hotel security. They were shitty to the cop. But now they found their manners. But I guess shit, bro.
So can we?
See, when it comes to jail in the United States of America, I feel like there's always this underlying relief that you're going to get out, or at least you're being told that your trial is coming up and things like that.
You'll have to
like I spent 2 weeks in jail in a foreign country without being charged. I spent more time being punished without any charges against me than actual criminals in the United States spend in jail after being, charged.
What country can you say?
You'd rather not? It'll make it interesting because you think that they're modern, but legally they're in the dark ages. It was Japan.
Texas?
Japan,
yeah. Not Texas. Okay.
Well, Paul McCartney got out in 2 days. What were you doing? Because he got arrested in Japan. All these young men talking about current thing. This really is the future. Thank you, hate speaker.
Yeah, thank you, hate speaker Sargon. It got cut off there, but $20 donation. Thank you very much. All these young men talking about current thing. This really is the future. Is it referring?
That could almost be sarcasm. Is that legit?
I don't know.
He likes sarcasm. He comes to my channel a lot.
Okay, so he's making fun of us, or is he supporting us?
I can't.
With him, he's definitely making fun of you. Yeah, he's making fun of us.
Well, thank you for
I thought I was going to be called a young man. I'm saying I put on enough effect on the Zoom here that
I've got the skin treatment.
only 35.
I lived in Japan for a while, and I did not get arrested there, but I wouldn't like to. I did get arrested in Germany, but the thing is, like, you're absolutely right. When you take away your agency and your ability to move around, they put you in that cell. I got arrested in Mexico where I felt like, oh shit, this is not going to be good.
Is it all for animal rights, sir?
No. But,
other things younger. Okay, if it was
in America, I've only been arrested for after I turned 18. The only thing I've been arrested for is animal rights stuff.
You can leave it at that. I wanted to focus on your veganism and how you're an altruistic person rather than a drunken, disorderly teen.
Just being around certain places and certain times, sometimes you end up in the clink. But that's just how it goes in America. I mean, I know a lady, she got arrested just for walking outside in LA, and there were kettling, and they arrested everybody, and she was just in her neighborhood, and she got arrested as a protester, and she wasn't even part of the protest. So you can just be near something in America.
Yeah. And thank you, Sargon. Yes, it was sarcasm. He revealed. So it's funny. That's how far I've fallen. I grew up in New York, and a lot of New York City. And I was known in high school as the sarcastic bastard. And now someone's sarcastic. I'm like, is he being sarcastic? I can't tell. I've been in California 30 years.
It was actually all part of my elaborate plan. I don't believe anything that I'm saying today. It was just to trick people into giving a donation so that they could post their hateful comment.
And I don't believe anything you're saying either, Skyler, if it makes you feel better. The rape of Point Reyes. Oh my God. I saw that little film you did there, and it's like I wanted more commentation. Of course, I know it takes time to make films, so I'll tell you what you should do with your time. But people look at that picture. Actually, before I tip my hand, Skyjack, because you're not immersed in the Point Reyes issues up here in Northern California, the way Skyler and I are, what do you see in that picture, and what do you make of that title? Do you know enough to know what he's referring to?
I imagine, well, at first I see that coyote down there, right? Mm-hmm. And it looks like I don't know. I think it's probably something where they're either making agriculture or probably animal agriculture that's pushing out the local animal population, maybe.
I hear a cat fight about to begin in my backyard. Speaking of cats, so I'm going to let Skyler take it and explain. But I was aware, like the average person doesn't understand.
What cats do. Were you going to stop the cat fight?
Yeah, it's literally two cats.
And that's what they do.
They fight.
Anyway,
stop enslaving animals.
People don't know what that picture signifies, because, oh, it's just a green field with a truck with some so-and-so, as opposed to that is an area that has been grazed by cattle down to bare, almost bare dirt and just a little bit of
Yeah.
weedy grass remaining, as opposed to the farmers call it this wonderful regenerated landscape from our regenerative ranching with, trucks full of, I don't know what dirt or manure going on there, Skylar knows, but it is a landscape that's been, to use his term, raped. And people look at it and think, oh, there's no condos there, it must be good. The conditioning is so strong as to what farming is and what the land should look like. That's what's been lost.
It's just a shameless plug. I'm working on a bigger project, and I decided to release some of the footage that I'm coming across from all the years out in Point Reyes, and I released this one. So, reminder to people that it's not just the live shows, it's primarily the live shows, but go and check out the other videos as they're coming out. And I hope you're looking forward to the bigger project, which, by the way, gives me an excuse to say thank you to supporters. I will call out Ray Cooper by name. I got a personal donation from you delivered by Jack, someone else who's choosing to be anonymous. By the way, those of you who choose to remain anonymous, you can do it in someone else's name or someone else's memory if you choose. But thank you again, everybody.
So if you'd
who
like to
chooses
support
to have
Skylar for his Watching Humans channel, he doesn't like promoting himself as much as I like promoting him. Or this podcast, if you make a donation, you can do it and get credit. You can do it and remain anonymous. That's what he's trying to say. I'm just saying it again because he deserves it. God knows he's not doing this for the money. As I know, Skyjack, despite his fancy suit there from Armani, is also not doing this for love of money, but for love of animals and the planet Earth we inhabit. And Earth Day is coming up soon. I want to talk about that as well.
Yeah, Earth Day is coming up.
That's March 28th, San Francisco Vegan Society, of which everyone should be a member for a measly $25, is hosting a rally and march in San Francisco. I was asked to speak at their Earth Day event and bring up veganism, because I actually came into the vegan movement not for my health, not even for the animals, although I'm an animal lover and always have been, but through, I didn't realize we were cutting down rainforest primarily to raise cattle for human consumption. And then once I said, okay, I need to stop eating cows and maybe pigs and need to learn more, then I could actually look at the issues, which of course I willfully did not want to know about, and then realize, well, the real reason to be vegan is for the animals that I claim to love all my life and have been eating at the delicatessen all my life. And then from that, I've never looked back. And meet incredible community like these guys, right? Look at this. These guys. Right here.
Guys in the Jacks.
By the way, today's program is brought to you by the Point Reyes Light, who are absolutely in no way, shape, or form influenced by animal agriculture. That's just their sponsors on the screen there, and in no way, shape, or form are they biased in what they publish in terms of the ranchers in Point Reyes. Real quality work you're doing there, Point Reyes Light. Real quality work.
Independent.
News of Marin County.
So, hate speaker Sargon, a fellow practitioner of sarcasm, Skylar was being heavily sarcastic there. Three different businesses that are advertisers for the Point Reyes Light, which we around here call the Point Reyes Blight or the Point Reyes Lie. You get to choose whichever name is better, and they accept a lot of money from the beef and dairy industries and then do editorials, which are now kind of more slanted than ever in favor of industry. So they won't take on veganism. And we live in Marin County. I wanted to ask you, Skyjack, down there in LA, we live surrounded by people who are educated, a lot of them white, but I won't hold that against people because some of my best friends are white. It's okay. Really educated, describe themselves as environmentalists and are completely not vegan because they buy the good stuff, the good dairy from Strauss and the good beef from Nyman, two ranchers who have sourced their mercilessly cruel products from Point Reyes National Seashore, the issue Skylar and I are involved in. What's going on down there? Do you have that as well?
Well, in Orange County, we have this is the whale watching month. I live near the whale watching capital of the world, and they care about the ocean, but then everything on the water, of course, is fish, and everyone's killing fish, and they're importing those fish from all over the world. But people like to eat fish near the ocean for some reason, even if that fish came from 5,000, 10,000 miles away. It's bizarre. Like they'll eat like Thai snapper in front of but I'm on the Pacific Ocean somewhere. This thing came out of. But
Wow.
but the environmental thing is really important, and it's such a good reason to, ecology is a reason to think about animals, and animals are part of, especially wild animals, But when I lived in Virginia, man, it's like, and you live in the South and you go between these towns, because growing up in LA, you don't really see nature driving between towns. You're just in asphalt and there's another place. There's just a sign that says, hey, you're in the next town. Nothing changed, right? But when you're in the South and you see this beautiful green area and forests between the towns. Like I was driving through Tennessee, you see the Smoky Mountains, and you got to think like, man, people must care about the environment here, right? But they don't, right? You see this as like the environment's here, let's conserve it, let's keep this pristine.
Yeah.
And they see it as, oh no, it's something to exploit from profit, and like it's only here for my pleasure. And
Yeah.
they don't see it as an end in and of itself. They don't see nature as something beautiful that's there for its own sake. They see it as something that's there for them. And that's really unfortunate. And I think that's the major disconnect. People don't care about the environment.
That's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate
Hmm.
is the the understatement of the show.
It's
That's
really
really
unfortunate.
unfortunate. Yeah, they don't value nature so much. That's really unfortunate.
Well, they value nature in how it will benefit them, right? They don't value nature
For
as its
itself.
own.
Just what you said. Yeah, for its
Yeah,
own value. I mean, that's
right.
constantly up here. And I don't know if it's in LA. I mean, we're all both in the state of California, but hundreds of miles apart. The management mania, something I'm going on about all the time. Just let me get me
Hmm.
started, which is
Hmm.
nature is, well, that's white man's wilderness. The Native Americans lived in contact with the land and intimately knew it and stewarded it. So
Hmm.
we're going to do it with our industrial machines and our herbicides and our chemicals and our cattle, just
Roundup.
the way the Native Americans did. That is the argument you hear. And every time I say that, I'm worried, okay, someone's going to say, Jack, don't you respect Native Americans? Of course I do. That's why I get disgusted with red washing. And as you can see, I'm already on my platform, my soapbox, going on about this. So down there, you have some management media I know as well about managing forests. Are you
Yes.
aware of that issue as well, or that's not so much your?
Yeah, of course, because mostly it's because of fire maintenance, right? We're afraid of burning down. But also we have Tulare not so far away. I've been there a few times and looked at what's happening and where Tulare Lake used to be. Indians used to live there, and then we drained the lake and put dairies there. And we're like, well, the Indians used to be there used to be buffalo here. No, there was a lake there, and we drained it in
Right.
order to build dairies. It's someone on my channel comments every day about how Indians how buffalo used to graze all over America, and now cows are there instead. It's like, well, exactly, right? Like we had to force that. We had to fence animals off and use them as slaves. The buffalo weren't slave animals.
So I'm champing, not chomping, champing, correct expression, because I didn't use ChatGPT, champing at the bit. So your point there, that's one of the common propaganda aims of the regenerative ranching community, which is, well, native bison used to tend the land and move around in great herds. So our native cattle, excuse me, our domesticated cattle are exactly the same. Just like
Mhm.
as this National Parks princess says, he makes a valid point. People are prone, you did, Skyjack, people are prone to feeling like they need to eat fish when near the ocean. It definitely comes from somewhere because many feel the need to do that. I
Mhm.
think it's this longing, like the hunter's longing to reconnect with nature. It's that, like, there is something ancient in our DNA about pulling a fish from the ocean and eating it, which was something I wouldn't criticize hundreds of years ago, let alone thousands of years ago. But that's not the world we live in today. Too many billions of humans disconnected from nature. You mentioned wild animals. As you know, only 4% of the Earth's
Yeah,
terrestrial biomass of
it's
mammals
wild.
is
Yeah.
wild. And
Mhm.
36% is humans, and a whopping 60% of the Earth's terrestrial biomass,
Mhm.
mammals, livestock.
Yeah, 97% of the animals on Earth, mammals, are us and the animals we enslave. It's like 70% of birds are no longer wild. Most of them are chickens, turkeys, and geese, animals that we enslave. 70%, and we're making we're killing lots of birds. Wild birds are dying at a real quick clip. It'll be there real fast. We'll
And
be
with
getting.
bird flu and pandemics from all of animal agriculture, as you mentioned at the very beginning of the show, taking lots of animals, jamming them into confined spaces, whether they're indoors or out, doesn't really matter. And of course, if they're cattle outdoors on much larger land, then you're just degrading more land. It's our eating animals, which as a vegan, I just constantly bring this show back to. Skyler wanted to call our show the Point Raised Podcast, which we do always talk point raised, but I wanted it always to be the macro, not the micro. It's about our treatment of animals, how that destroys the environment, certainly doesn't help our health. And then, of course, just this monstrous holocaust, the animal holocaust that we're perpetuating, and it's right out in the open, and it's global. Biggest thing we've ever done that's immoral.
Exactly. And with my activism, I used to be more kind of like what you're talking about, more about the ecological. That's why I'm so well versed in it. I talked about ecology, the earth, animal cruelty, all of the things you're discussing. And now I just feel like I need to go upstream. I did a tour around America. I've spoken at 70 different colleges. I went to, I don't know, maybe 100 and something cities all over America with my chicken truck for PETA and doing activism every single day. It made me realize people aren't even ready for that message. In a lot of times, you talk about the environment and all these other things, and they can't even get their heads around why you even give a shit. They don't care. They don't know why you do.
Colleges? What age were you targeting, or just general audiences?
In the college was college age, obviously, but
And they weren't ready for that. They weren't open to it because that's like the perfect age. That's the Gary Yourofsky argument, which I think is an accurate one, which is they're old enough to be independent, but still young enough to be open-minded and looking to explore the world and learn new things. Am I being naive?
I think Gary's being naive when he says that, or hopeful. I would like to say he's being optimistic. And I mean, I was on college campuses, and they're just as brainwashed as anybody else. Don't forget that the UC Berkeley had the largest Republican club in America when I went there, and there's plenty of people they build churches all around every university for a reason. People are looking for answers. Every university you go to, there's churches all around the perimeter. So I think that maybe people are curious and they've got a little time. That helps a lot. College students have some time to think about shit. They're not bogged down with a bunch of jobs.
Wait a second there, Catholic boy, if I heard right earlier in the show. Are you saying I'm just sort of sniffing out that you might not believe in an invisible man who lives in the sky, that watches everything you do every day, and if you do 10 specific things that a man doesn't want you to do, you'll go to a place of fire and torture and hell and pain to the end of time, but he loves you? That guy? You don't believe in that?
I don't believe in the invisible world. I believe I
do, but it doesn't look like a white man in the sky.
No, I don't believe in the invisible world, angels and demons fighting for the eternal control over my soul right behind the veil of reality. I do like the teachings of Christ, mercy, compassion, all that good stuff. Yeah. I mean,
good guy.
Blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the merciful, and love your enemies. Yeah, I'm all about that stuff.
It wasn't blessed are the cheesemakers. No.
Oh,
peacemakers. I got that wrong all the time.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And I appreciate the teachings of Christ, but if I'm being honest, and Gary Yourofsky, sure, it's great to have people forced to sit in a room and listen to Gary Yourofsky. Awesome. If you can get something like that going, great. I mean, I think
it's one of the most amazing vegan bits of activism. Gary's Gary. He's a guy with, warts and all that, but what an amazing thing he did you tasted it. I have not done what you did either, which is to tour and go to colleges and run my mouth. God knows I'd like to, but to do that repeatedly, I think, as you correctly surmised, it takes hope and optimism, the belief that you can make a change. And I also would say what you did, it absolutely can and probably does have an effect, a ripple effect. You put a stone in the pond and it ripples out, and who knows what it does. We can never ultimately be responsible for what our effect is. We can just make the intention with sincerity and passion, and the big one, the truth as we perceive it.
But I think the big question is still going to be, if you were going to claim moral authority and we're going to say, okay, killing animals is wrong, then that only works as long as a bigger authority doesn't come around and say, actually, killing animals is A-okay. And so as long as we're in that eternal struggle, that we're never really going to make any ground. We speak with moral authority because we're making these claims as vegans and animal rights activists, and maybe they resonate. But as soon as someone with more authority comes along, or someone that they trust more, a friend of theirs, or a pastor, or a teacher, even a president, as soon as they come around and tell them the opposite, then they'll just go with that.
That's where Skyler enters the conversation. Coincidence? I don't think so. There he is over there, which is
Well,
you can show people the truth. And of course, that's tricky now with AI videos being faked and all that and disappearing rings on Bibi Netanyahu's hand. But I agree. I mean, even the term moral authority, I appreciate that that is a truthful statement and is a value for people who are intellectually minded, which is a decreasing number of our human population. But ultimately, I can take any hunter who believes in, hey, it's natural to kill an animal, and if he's not an orange McTurdler in chief, president, psychopath, take him into a slaughterhouse and say, look at that mechanized death, which is what's necessary to feed 8 billion humans so much meat, and they will be revulsed by what they see. That truth is horribly brutal.
So it's but then the question is it only wrong because of the scale? I mean, it's I think that we have to be people of principle. You hear Donald Trump talk about today. He was talking about how the Iranians killed protesters. Okay, well, so do we. Is it wrong because they killed so many protesters? I mean, we shoot our protesters. Donald Trump gave the order to shoot protesters in the legs. Is that preferable? Is that more moral than what the Iranians did?
So great question, great point, and I would say it's a bit of both. You can use the extreme example to wake people up, because if you just show them one animal, well, that's kind of like hunting. It's familiar, and as you know, the power of conditioning is just this incredible fog that I was raised with for 50 years. So I don't judge people for having it. I know that it's how our minds work. We're conditioned by society, whether it's political belief or to treat animals a certain way, and you can shock them awake by showing them.
Sure, but Jack, that's Malcolm X said that. Don't judge the people who are just behind you because you were just there, and I get that totally. But like, if we're not going to be people of principle, trying to show people the critical thinking that is required by using the Socratic method, I think, which is the opposite of what Gary does. Gary is he's a preacher who's trying to tell people that what you're doing is wrong, the way I do it's right. And if you say things with a degree of confidence and with eloquence, then you could convince them short term. But the problem with Gary Yourofsky is that, although great, yeah, every activist is great, everyone loves everybody, yeah, okay. But the problem with that is that those people that he's talking to, maybe they eat less meat when they leave. And they've done studies on this. They talk to a vegan and they eat less meat that day. But then they go right back. We are fighting against a propaganda machine we have no chance of winning against. We will never win that battle. That we're outspent, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned.
Well, then I go back to, yes, I'm watching the politician. I agree with everything you said, but you're completely full of shit. I agree. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I would say there's one quote that gives me, and I choose to believe this, right? I'm choosing this belief, right? Because it moves me in a positive direction versus, gun to the head.
The happy Sisyphus.
And that is the, not St. Ignatius, St. Augustine, which is the truth is like a lion. There's no need to defend it. Let it loose, and it will defend itself. That's the only reason we have any chance at all, because what you said, the powers that be, money, control, propaganda, overwhelming odds, we can't possibly win. But we do have something that can reach people, and I agree it's an uphill battle, to put it mildly. Thank God Skyler is working on something else now. He'd be just jumping all over my optimistic ass.
Well, you guys have said something. You guys have said several things that make me come back to the show video, a topic I've made. The phrase "it's just a" that humans say. They just all of a sudden everything's okay because it's just a chicken. It's just a this. It's just a that, and that's based on this idea we have in our minds that we know something about that creature, and we don't know anything. But we have the illusion that we do because we've been allowed to appoint ourselves as all knowing and intelligent and correct. And we were raised by our parents to also say, oh, it's just a this, it's just a that. Well, and again, just like we were talking about earlier, you can go from a chicken to a cow to a dog to a different colored human being until you finally get to your own colored human being that you don't like.
Mm-hmm. Because they have a different idea. But that's, again, a moral authority argument. Your parents say it's just a dog, it's just a Mexican, it's just a what, it's just a Japanese person. Or they'll usually use the short terms, right? They'll call them illegals or other epithets that we don't want to use against to dehumanize people. Even Aristotle saying that all animals are born slaves and some humans who are more like animals are also born slaves. These are... This is something that's been going on since the dawn of philosophy, the dawn of civilization. We've been engaged in this. But if Gary does it, yeah, Gary, I want to talk about this. Gary needs to drop the nonsensical, beclowning, predator culling stance. It sets the vegan movement back years. It destroys the vegan movement. I don't think there is a vegan movement anymore. I think there's an animal liberation movement, and vegans are a subset of those people. So vegans should be in the driver's seat, but they're too busy talking about bullshit like this with the effective altruists who have hijacked the movement. And now we're just utilitarians arguing about how much suffering can we mitigate if we... This is all just trying to create a closed spreadsheet where animals are on one side of the ledger and their suffering is on the other, and we can somehow trade, like cap and trade of carbon footprint or something. It's ludicrous. And Gary's engaged in it.
Yeah, I let it go. He brought it up last time. He brought it up, and I was just like, if we go down this road,
who brought it up?
Talk about anything else.
Gary
was on, and he mentioned this. I was like, holy shit, Gary, really?
And for the folks who aren't in the know on Gary Roski's, little life story, it was him saying that, he doesn't like predators for killing other animals. And Skyler and I
loves them except at dinner time, right? Is that what he said?
So I'm a big fan of Gary Roski, but not on everything he says. So I don't agree with him on that. And if he came on the show, that's
how I feel about Donald Trump.
I don't know if you're kidding, please.
I'm a huge fan. The Home Alone 2 stuff was so great. I loved him in Home Alone 2.
I loved him. Wise guy.
I loved him in so many things. I loved him in all the TV shows he used to do. I loved him in The Apprentice. Oh my God, that was such a good show.
So unlike you, my friend, I grew up with Donald Trump, and I met.
So did I. I read both his books.
No. You met the man, or you read his books?
No, I read his books. I grew up with him because he was on TV constantly. People forget that he was like in a cameo on every show back in the day when they needed a rich person. It was Donald Trump. Here he is. He was on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
He's always loved
I was living in Manhattan, starting my photographic career, and I was doing a lot of events.
Yeah.
I never met Donald Trump in person. I met the beautiful Marla Maples, who became his second wife.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a sexy woman. That's why he's chasing after her in person. Interesting. I was in my 20s, so I was, looking at women at that point in my career, in my life. But he was known as a bullshit artist back then.
Yeah,
he'll say anything to get a job. Yeah, he wasn't a sociopath. At least the brain rot had not.
He just wasn't dangerous. He was a con man who wasn't dangerous because he was ripping off the punters and the rubes.
He didn't have the power. He didn't know the power he has today.
It's the same thing with I compare him to one of those Rolex salesmen at Times Square in New York City. Hey, you want a Rolex? Hey, and you're like, wait, it's not ticking like a Rolex. Oh, trust me, it's real. Donald Trump is that guy. We all allow that guy to exist in Times Square. He's been there since Times Square's been there. There's been a guy there selling Rolexes or whatever the equivalent is. I've been there. Bootleg DVDs the first time I was in New York City. I couldn't believe all the bootleg DVDs everywhere. No one does anything about this. And that's Donald Trump. He's just a con man selling bootleg DVDs and always has been. We just wasn't dangerous.
Yeah. And for two reasons, as I see it, that he came to power. One is the rot of the capital system, which is how the show kind of started. Makes the snake oil salesman con man Barker particularly appealing, and then of course spreading hate and division among the lower classes.
That was Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon Steve Bannon said that Donald Trump was the type of politician that comes around every 100 years, and he would be the perfect person to lead the MAGA movement. Why? What other politician do you think he was comparing him to the last century? Like, what politician? If this is a politician that only comes around every 100 years, who was Steve Bannon comparing him to in the 20th century? I'm thinking it might have been the Austrian, but I can't. Maybe it's Mussolini. It's certainly somebody like that Steve Bannon's imagining. So the con man becomes a useful idiot to get the powerful. When you find a good snake oil salesman that can sell snow to Eskimos, you can use that guy to sell hate and division so that we can make billions of dollars.
Yeah. And the other component, which enables all that, as you accurately surmised, the growing American idiocracy.
Well, yeah, that's been in the works since Reagan when they defunded education.
Wait, actually, I was going to say something, but let me see what my phone told me to say. I mean, and I have intelligent people say, "Oh no, Jack, you should use ChatGPT to write stuff." I'm like, but I know how to write. It's not going to give me any original thought, which is what I actually need to write.
It might help you. It might help you contextualize some things. That's about it. A tool is going to be as useful as
as the wielder tool.
Yeah, I can't use a drywall hammer, but my father, he can like frame out a whole house back when he had his health, and he could like build a house with a drywall hammer and and a Polanski or something. Like he could do it.
A Roman Pulaski?
a Pulaski, not Polanski. Sorry, Pulaski. Sorry, like the tool, like the pick adds, not a pickaxe, but a pick adds. Anyway.
Skyler, should we check the chat at all? There's a lot going on over there. Have you been keeping an eye on that? I have not.
Well, not as much as you would think. I think people are tuning out.
We've only been at it an hour and 40 minutes. Do you think that's enough, folks?
No, they only started tuning out in the last 5.
Ha ha.
No, we got one.
With you not being on screen. So I think this is.
By the way, Trump is as close to believing the Bible as you get, because that guy is he is the exact description of the Antichrist.
He's the rough beast slouching toward Bethlehem. Like that guy's right up there with the center cannot hold and all of that. But they used Jesus as a weapon, which is what the Bible warned us against, and yet here we are.
Who's hate speaker? It's interesting that he opened up with a $20 super chat in order to be read. You could have gotten me to read it for a lot cheaper, but not anymore. You've got a $20 opening bid from now on. Okay, here's Honest Doubter back with another, and John Spear after that. Go ahead.
Says, figurehead liability shield for a larger system. Everyone rages against this figurehead and ignores that the same system has established dozens of such figureheads in the last century.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it feels like whack-a-mole, right? But, I mean, as much as I can rail against the office of the presidency, there's no denying that, like, other figureheads have been superior as much as I hate. George W. Bush seems fucking quaint at this point. George W. Bush seems like a jolly little fellow. I thought he was the Antichrist. And
as
this
Nixon
guy
was in my day in 1974. I was around to watch all that. So John Spear, thank you, John. Vegan animal rights figures have a variety of personalities and styles, just as school teachers, coaches do in general. I think the best ones are respectful, smart, set a good example for others to follow, and wear a nice jacket from Vegas. I'm sorry, I added the last part. Sorry.
I don't know if I'm very respectful. I mean, I think
you look it.
Yeah. By the way, when Skyjack and I start, we're going to add a day on here. Although I don't know what we're going to do next week because my scientist backed out for political reasons. But we're not going to be that respectful. I think that there's enough of those people trying to accomplish things respectfully. That's clearly not my flavor.
I mean, I'm at the point where I just want to burn everything down, and I don't think that.
You say it so lovingly, with love in your heart.
I mean, I do. I want to do it for the people, but like, but I'm well aware that of the bloodbath of the French Revolution gave them a just turmoil until they got Napoleon. Napoleon was not a good idea, and they had to like work over and over and over again to try to get just this sham of a democracy they have today. And I feel like that's what we've done, and maybe it's every 100 years we got to keep doing this. It's shocking to me. And when it comes to the animals, I it's hard to imagine, but I do think we're going to get to the point where capitalism will help actually, and there's going to be some things that are going to change because no one's going to be willing to pay for all this cow flesh. You've heard what's happening right now. Like cow flesh is going up, up, up. It's not at an all-time high yet, but it's
Did you ever,
expensive as hell.
you
Well,
ever see?
the solution to that is to give them more land to graze.
I think he's being sarcastic again, folks. Warning.
What's
Well, I am, except that it's actually happening.
Yeah,
but what
of course.
but what's
And by the way,
crazy is
I wanted to mention when you were talking about people eating fish on the shore while during whale watching season
Yeah.
that, and of course we have the problems with whalers and things like that. But with all the fish being brought in from other countries and everything else taking place, did people know that whale mortalities from boat strikes have gone up 20% during the during the Trump administration? So who even needs whalers? Another 20% of whales are being killed, and they're already swimming silently because there's so much noise pollution in the ocean from the ships that they don't even bother singing to each other anymore.
I've grown, to your point, Skylar, I've grown up with non-environmentalist presidents. This is the first time I've ever seen a virulently, psychotically anti-environmental president.
I mean, he wants to limit the EPA. I mean, the EPA was started by Republicans, and they want to get rid of it.
Under Nixon, actually. By the way, can I read some more comments here?
Social Security, too. They want to get rid of that.
Right. So, honest outer to you, Skyjack. Nice Yates reference. Very good.
Yeah.
We're the literate bunch here today.
You gotta love the Yates. Extra points for Yates.
Parallelish says Peter Thiel is so fascinated with the Donald Trump, and I just saw a picture again, a little podcast and a picture of Peter Thiel again, and he's fascinating to me. I haven't studied him a lot. I have some idea of him, and he's the backer behind our current vice president, who's yearning for the throne, of course.
Yep.
But what I like about Peter Thiel is you can look at him, and you can see him for who he is.
The Emperor Palpatine?
You just see the rot. It's like the Stephen Miller and the Steve Bannons, as opposed to the ones who frighten me are the J.D. Vances and the Mikes Johnson, because they look, like nice little school choir boys, and they're just evil on the inside, but they haven't begun to show the decay on the outside. Honest Outer says Skyjack adds a good dynamic. Definitely have him back. I agree.
Oh, that's nice.
That's very nice. Thank you, Honest Outer, and thank you, Skyjack, for being here.
You can go to his show, Morning Sky. You do quite a few. If you want to plug your stuff,
before we forget here, which we won't, your shows that you'd like to tell folks where to go.
Where to go? Like to hell? What do you mean?
to see Skyjack Morgan, to get more of.
Oh, please go to Skyjack Morgan on YouTube and see I heard cats. That's really funny. Yeah, please go to Skyjack Morgan's, like and subscribe. I do a show every morning called Morning Sky, where we react to the news. The number one Morning Sky show, the number one YouTube reaction show, news reaction show on YouTube. That's what it's. The number one news reaction show on YouTube. And then I do a call-in show every day at 1 p.m. And then we do Ethical Underground on Sunday, where we get into the nitty-gritty and talk about ethical points, ethical stances and morality and stuff like that. It's a little headier topic stuff. But he talked about, he said he likes to see the rot. I think what's interesting about Peter Thiel and those guys is that you have Lindsey Graham, where you can also see him rotting, but you have Scott Bessent and Peter Thiel, and they're both billionaires. And Scott Bessent's a soy farmer, he calls himself. Of course, he's never done a day of farming, but he calls himself a soy farmer. And Scott Bessent and Peter Thiel are both gay. But they're revered in the MAGA movement. A bunch of people who hate gays. They call Pete Buttigieg butt plug and all of this stuff, They hate the gays, unless you're a billionaire. And I think that is so beautiful to point at and say, you don't care about any of this culture war stuff. If you're a billionaire, they love you. That's all that matters. The richer you are, the more they love you.
It's interesting how important it is to them to bash on the gay community.
And the women, and anyone who's politically vulnerable, man, it doesn't matter. They'll, like Pete Hegseth, they like punching when you're down, or, you know what I mean? But, Adelson's wife, who's now, giving them millions of dollars and who's a billionaire, Adelson's wife, is revered. She's a Jewish woman. She's politically vulnerable. They love her because she's a billionaire. If Scott Bessett's billionaire, they love him. He's openly gay. He's married, but Marco Rubio, he can never come out of the closet because he'll be hanged. He'll be crucified. Same thing with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham's.
Like, how do you know when MAGA's going to be like, oh, well, we don't actually care, and when they will care?
They only care.
Yeah, anything's possible. They'll just because there's no consistency anyway. It's all riddled with hypocrisy, even more so than the left.
Yeah, but
I got to tell you, Republicans that I'm in the few moments that I subject myself to watching the news are so beta that like they're more feminine than actual gay men.
Donald Trump asking everybody, "What shoe size are you? I'm going to buy you some shoes." Have you seen this? It's crazy.
I mean, I see how he decorates. That's enough.
Yeah,
he's not actually gay because he gets the size completely wrong.
Yeah, no, they tell him the wrong one because they all want to pretend like they've got. He said, "Well, you could tell a lot about a man by his shoe size." Like, who talks like this? Have you ever seen him waxing poetic? It's one of my favorite moments in Trumpdom is when he's going crazy about. He goes to where Arnold Palmer's from, and he's got one story about Arnold Palmer, and where he looks off into the distance whimsically and just regales them with a story about watching his big dick in the showers. Like, who talks like this about other men?
Well, someone who's extremely damaged and had an awful father figure who damaged the frick out of him as a kid, and then he's, basic
Killed his
psychology.
brother.
If you don't deal with your internal stuff, it's going to be projected outward in your behavior. And he's quite the Antichrist, as we've said, force that can project it onto the entire freaking world.
To me, I think he's the hood ornament on America. He's the spirit of ecstasy, like on the hood ornament, like the hood ornament of the Rolls Royce. Donald Trump is the perfect. He represents America. This fat fucking McDonald eating, diaper wearing octogenarian with dementia.
Uneducated, mean-spirited, swaggering, and full of
has never volunteered, never done any service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He kind of is the perfect figurehead for the capitalist rot at the stage where we are now in late stage hopefully late stage capitalism. Yeah, seems to be.
Yeah, he's like,
but he'll turn around and pretend like he cares about birds if he can attack windmills.
Well, but come on. It's all.
Well, of course, but like I'm not as mad at him as I am the dipshits in the audience going, "Yep, that's right."
Well, correct. And the politicians who will, like my buddy Ari Fleischer from Fox Lane High School in Westchester County, like, I'm going to ride these coattails. I don't care whether it's the coattails of a literal Satan. If I can ride it to power, I'm on board, baby. This is fun. Get me my money.
Yeah, that's like a Henry Kissinger thing, right? Like, just
right. Yeah.
It's just disgusting. But Henry Kissinger, he's one of the most educated people ever. He had all these more degrees than the thermometer. Went to Harvard, the whole thing.
Doesn't that make it more unforgivable?
It makes it more Machiavelli. It's just like
yeah, Machiavellian, exactly. But more unforgivable for me in my book, anyway, as opposed to people who are busy, they're working class, they weren't educated, and they can be more easily fooled.
You feel like it's more of a sin for an educated person to stab you in the back than it is for an uneducated person to stab you in the back?
Yes, but I'm going to feel the knife the same way, of course, to your point. But I still like, hey, you knew what you were doing. The other person, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do to some extent.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess there's something to be kind of adding insult to injury, right? Like, you knew better. You knew, and you still did it. You
Graham. And I mean, all
Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio, thank you. They initially said what he was, or even J.D. Vance, he's America's Hitler.
Yeah.
And then, now it's much more convenient to just take all that back and follow this guy's coattail.
Well, because they care more about, it's funny because in Hannah Arendt, in The Banality of Evil, she talks about this, how it's like people like Pam Bondi, who is, at least a class traitor and a race traitor, and she's a traitor to her gender, and because she cares more about her career. That's like, she knows that it expedites her career prospects if she can just show that I'm one of the good women. I'm the one who's going to tear down other women. Kristi Noem did the same thing. I'm going to show everybody what a badass I am by shooting that dog in the gravel pit and telling everybody about it. That's what that was, right? It's a I'm not like the other girls. I'm like one of you men who kill dogs indiscriminately.
And so disconnected from her heart, or arguably her soul, that she thinks, I'm going to tell this story proudly because it's a good thing to share with normal people. That
Hey, that was
I
her
shot my
job
14-month
application to the Trump administration. It
I
worked.
shot my 14-month-old dog, and I'm proud of it because I had the discipline to do that. Not aware, like, wow, the sociopath who doesn't realize they are a sociopath.
Well, it's always worked. Why would it not work here? It's always worked for her. She and Pam Bondi are peas in a pod. Women, it's just like Ice Cube in NWA said, you don't want to have a black cop because the black cop will beat you harder to prove that he's a good cop with the white cop. He's going to beat you. The black cop's going to beat you worse than the white cop will.
If only it was for cops. It goes all the way up to the Supremes with Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. These are traitors, and that's. So why wouldn't it work? I shot the dog. Of course I shot that dog. I'm one of you. I'm one of the boys.
Yeah.
Not realizing that
the hyper masculine, right, in our society. He says the three heartfelt vegans who don't want to kill animals or subjugate any other living creature can point to hyper masculinity and see the, oh God.
If a man had written a book where he shot a dog because the dog wouldn't hunt, it wouldn't have been politically no political liability there whatsoever.
Yeah. A lot less.
By the way, I want to include this in the dog episodes that I intend to do in the future. The only dog that doesn't learn is a dog that has an owner too dumb to teach, because dogs are incredibly smart and good learners. Like, I don't even put any effort into it. You know what I do? I spend time with them. And then
the dog was 14 months old, though.
14 months old. Well, also, and eager to please. There, of course, all dogs are trainable. This woman
humans are forcing dogs to learn tricks at like fucking 3 weeks.
You know the story. You know how she killed the dog, right? The dog was supposed to be a hunting dog. The dog Cricket wasn't performing very well when they went to go hunting. Cricket wasn't doing a good job hunting. And then later on that day, they stopped at somebody's house to do some political bullshit or something, and they had chickens that were around. There were chickens around, and a dog, the Cricket, sees the bird, has been trained as a birder, goes and grabs one of the chickens, kills the chicken, and
does what she taught it to do, but not to the wrong animal.
She taught Cricket how to do, yeah, but just didn't. Cricket isn't fully understanding the job yet. And so rather than, I don't know, make the person whole again by buying a chicken or whatever, I don't know what make some restitution for the chicken, she takes right then and there, brings that dog behind the trailer park into a gravel pit and shoots the dog in the head. I don't know what they did.
That's a person who wants to do something like that and is looking for a reason.
That's right.
She killed a goat on the way home that day too.
I'm
not joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. It was a double murder, a double homicide that day. I want to read a comment here, which is another topic, and then I don't know where we're going to keep going here. We all indefatigable.
I got to get my dogs out because we're having a heat wave, and this is our last chance today.
So,
by the way, I'm watching the. Sorry, I'll shut my.
It's all right. Co-sider says again, I can't watch news. Sky makes it palatable.
Oh, yay, Sky!
Which is a great compliment. Yeah, I mean, I felt that way. 20 years ago when I would turn to Jon Stewart because I couldn't watch the mainstream news anymore. And I'm not the Trump, all news is fake news and all the legacy media is worthless. It's not that broad and simple, but I definitely, it's really tough these days to watch, I don't know, Lawrence O'Donnell or something, who I used to watch and admire some of what he would say, and he'll criticize Trump, but he won't touch capitalism, the insurance industry, healthcare. I mean, none of the big systemic problems. And I've turned away, and I was watching, I'm trying to think who I turn to for news anymore. I'm watching, Mehdi Hassan, who's an independent, intelligent, educated critic, and folks like that, pundits like that. George Monbiot, of course, for vegan criticism. And then wherever independent, whether it's The Guardian or other independent news outlets, that's definitely happened. And it's not all bad, because people can actually, if they're, to your point, your big point, Skyjack Morgan, critical thinkers, there is good news to be had, but you do have to search it out and think critically.
Yeah, you just have to do more of the work. You just have to do more of the work.
And that's a huge change in society from how I grew up watching my father watch Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, everyone's always about Walter Cronkite. Yeah.
Watching the Vietnam War updates when I was trying to watch Star Trek.
Yeah. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, by the way. Huge. But, and before that, they had Edward R. Murrow, the birth of the Sunday shows, and even on the right though, you had William Buckley Jr. and
Oh, so, yeah. The author of Burr. Oh God. Senior moment. Here it is. It's happening. It's gone.
Are you talking about Baldwin?
No, Baldwin is a brilliant black man who I also watch replays of because he's so friggin' insightful and erudite.
Oh, I love him. He's one of my favorites. Yeah, I talk about him all the time.
Oh, come on. Oh, Gore. The other Gore.
Gore Vidal.
Gore Vidal, thank you. Gore Vidal.
And Norman Mailer. Yeah, all that crew, like the New Yorkers.
Which was intelligent discussion. Actually, it's fascinating to watch those shows because it was on public TV, pretty well broadcast, and it was an in-depth discussion that would go on for an hour. Who does that anymore? I mean, we're running 2 hours. Who's going to watch this?
People watch, but like, I guess like, I think we're getting back to the point where maybe we'll come back to like the pre-William F. Buckley Jr. It'll be less gladiatorial because even people like that nut job Tucker Carlson, he used to be gladiator debate style, interview everyone like an asshole, like Bill. Who's the guy from Current Affair? Not Bill Maher. Fuck it, I'm going live. Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Current Affair.
Bill O'Reilly. Like Bill O'Reilly.
Okay.
Everyone you interview is the enemy, and you have to win. Even Tucker's doing less of that now, and I wonder. I don't know. Maybe we'll enter an era where we're not just bread and circuses. Who knows?
That may be so, and I hope so after the demise of the current empire. But Tucker is a terrible example for me because he's a deeply racist, pretty intelligent person who will moderate and buff his edges like Vance knows to do in order to stay in power and even ascend the throne. He would love to be a Republican nomination for president.
Yeah. Right? I think he'll be president for the next 10 years. I don't know what you're talking about. I think President Vance is the future. We're going to have 10 years of Vance. He'll take over at the end of 2026 or early 2027.
Will he marry, what's his name?
Erica Kirk?
Yeah.
He'll have to divorce Usha first. Divorcing Usha will solidify the right-wing white supremacist base, but we'll see, I guess.
I think he might go for Ivanka. That's a power couple.
She's already got
Barron's not putting out anymore. What was left of his virility is gone now. What was the war?
Kushner, though, I mean, Kushner's she converted to Judaism for nothing?
Yep, pretty much. But hey, you get Chinese food on Sundays. It's not a bad deal.
Yeah, there you go.
Making of America. What was that by Gore Vidal? Great little book. Who said that? I never read that. Thank you. Honest Dowder, of course, the erudite. Speaking of that word.
I read more about Gore Vidal with Norman Mailer, and they're like they went back and forth on stuff.
No, it was Norman Mailer. I mean, he was in on it too, but it was Gore Vidal and
Noam Chomsky. All like that intelligentsia at the time.
I remember my heartstrings here. I mean, I grew up with him because I didn't. I mean, God, how else could he get an alternative view? These are wonderful documentaries, Manufacturing Consent.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Noam Chomsky. I mean, and now he's in the Epstein files. So here we go.
I think he was just a lookie. Well, anyway, I don't want to go there. So, what are we going to do here, boys? We're at 2 hours. I don't want to.
I have another show here coming up, so I've got to prep for that. I have another show in 2 hours at 1:00 called Pick Your Battles, where it's kind of a call-in show. Anybody can call in and debate me on one of my 5 inconvenient truths. So, and where would people go to a URL to find you, sir?
Skyjack, youtube.com/@SkyjackMorgan. Do you want to hear about the 5 inconvenient truths for the show?
Of course.
Sure. Okay, so the first one is freedom means open borders. The second one is animal production is slavery. MAGA is anti-genius, anti-Jesus is the third one. MAGA is anti-Jesus.
Both, actually.
The fourth one is anarchism is maturity, not chaos. And number 5 is DEI is our national strength.
Our national strength?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So this is topics for...
I want people to call in and tell me why they disagree with me.
Okay.
So feel free to call in and be on the show.
Well, thank you.
Jack Morgan on YouTube.
Skyjack Morgan, yes. Thank you very much, Sky, or Skyjack, or Skyjack Morgan, for coming on and kibitzing with us.
Indeed. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
As we say in New York, thank you for having me. It's nice to be had.
Nice to be.
WatchingHumans.com is on YouTube, where you can find Skyler, and I'm Jack Gescheit. Say or pronounce that, unless you're German, you can't. On treespiritproject.com, the website. And then, of course, I'm here every Tuesday with Skyler with our Sky-Jack, not to be confused with Sky Jack Morgan. Right.
Jawohl. Jawohl, mein Herr. Dann sprichst du auch Deutsch gescheit. Weißt du gescheit? Weißt du Bescheid?
No.
Nein. Nein.
There you go. Mais, je parle français avec un bon accent. Mais un petit peu. However, I do think that every intelligent person should speak at least one language.
At least one. At least one. All right. Well, Skyler left us. I guess it's time to go. Okay.
Bye.
Right, bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks. Bye,
I'm
guys.
just calling you sir because you're wearing a nice suit.
Oh, that's
jacket. I know.